I may be a rookie at your little sport, but I'm a fast learner.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're looking at the goriest, most blood-soaked video games and franchises players can subject themselves to. Number 30, Hotline Miami series. With its 16-bit pixel art style, Hotline Miami and its sequel may not seem all that violent at first glance, but then you start to play. Both games chronicle the events of one man's war against the Russian mafia. Across each level, players are tasked with storming different buildings and using whatever weaponry is at their disposal to annihilate everyone in their path. Usually, that involves blasting them apart to give environments a nice coat of crimson. On top of massacring enemies, there's the disturbing subject matter of each story, which goes to surprisingly dark places. Number 29, Bulletstorm.
Bullets are having no effect!
Priority.
If a game rewards you for how violent you can be, you know it deserves to be included. Bulletstorm sets you on a futuristic, over-the-top quest for revenge, which of course brings buckets of bullets and blood. The developers found unique ways of utilizing firearms and wholeheartedly encourage us to use them. In fact, the more creative your kills are, the more points you'll earn. Therefore, earning better upgrades and keeping yourself well-stocked to keep on slaying. Whether it be through the awesome features of your weapons or by using the world around you, you'll want to see how inventive and vicious you can be.
Hold on. Damn it! Yeah!
Number 28, Hatred.
This is more than a killing spree. It's a mission.
Hatred made some big waves when it was revealed. Following a mad fed up with humanity who decides to go on a mass killing spree, it's easy to see why. Developer Destructive Creations specifically set out to go against political correctness in video games. Due to such violent content and disturbing subject matter, which hits close to home for a lot of people, it received a rare adults-only rating and is only playable on PC. Other than the controversy surrounding it, the game failed to leave a mark since its gameplay grew repetitive. Still, there's no denying that the violence was definitely there.
Nothing compares to this feeling. Absolutely nothing.
Number 27, Sniper Elite series. Sniper Elite is one of many FPS franchises that focuses on World War II. But what sets it apart is its emphasis on stealth and precision over bombastic action. That's in its extreme realism. This can be seen in how you must take multiple factors into account when lining up your shots, including wind resistance. Another example, which is what earns it a spot on this list, is the slow motion effect that shows the anatomically correct results of what happens to different organs when they're hit by a sniper round. For years, fans have been drawn to the satisfaction and gore that comes from pulling off particularly tense shots. And that's unlikely to change. Number 26, Condemned series.
114, report in. Have the feds arrived?
Becker here, FBI on the scene, over and out.
The Condemned duology follows an FBI agent tracking a series of serial killings, only to be framed for murder himself. And as his life quickly descends, he finds he'll have to get his hands dirty, literally. The developers chose to focus on melee combat from a first-person perspective, putting players up close and personal with some pretty nasty deeds. For the visual aesthetic and plot, they were also inspired by some of the more disturbing crime films seen on the big screen, like Seven and Saw. This made for a really visceral experience, which was too much for some people. In fact, both games were banned in Germany for their violent content.
No signs of activity. Good luck down there. Copy that.
Number 25, Soldier of Fortune series. The technology used in the first Soldier of Fortune game was highly impressive for its time, if not controversial. It divided bodies of enemies into zones, which could all be targeted and blown off by players to varying degrees of violence. This earned it an adult rating in Canada, and in Germany, it was placed on a list of media harmful to young people. It isn't as if things got any more pleasant in the sequels though. Double Helix featured just as much violence as its predecessor, if not more. And the third game, Payback, had to undergo significant censorship so that it could be released in Australia.
Did you guess?
We're paid soldiers. I just got paid more to switch teams.
Number 24, Outlast series.
Get them out! Please! Because
The original Outlast set the indie horror scene on fire when it was released in 2013. Everyone was itching to be confronted with extreme violence around every corner and to be chased by its disturbing characters. Blood-splattered environments, antagonists that made our skin crawl with their twisted demeanor. It was a blast. The series has continued to up the ante with even more gore and new sadistic characters, with every person looking like they walked straight out of the most brutal nightmare imaginable, and with many of them wanting nothing more than to rip you and others to shreds. Outlast is one nasty ride. Number 23, Silent Hill series.
There's something going on in this room.
What do you mean?
I heard weird noises coming from inside there.
Although more known for its horrific creature design, depressing plotlines, and tense gameplay that makes you feel trapped, there's still plenty of violence to be had in Silent Hill. After all, if one of the monsters lurking in the shadows catches you, you'll meet one hell of a messy end. As the series has progressed, better graphics have only made the gore stand out more, whether we see it in character deaths or some of the more particularly upsetting enemy designs. After a lengthy absence, Silent Hill made a terrific comeback in 2024, and its future looks both bright and bloody. Number 22, Dead Island 2.
She always likes surprises.
We could have put the whole series here, but Dead Island 2 is such a cut above the rest in terms of gore that it deserves to be singled out. It's yet another zombie game, but what makes it so much fun is its focus on dismembering the undead. You gain access to a variety of abilities and weapons, both melee and ranged, all designed to work in tandem for ripping your foes to pieces. There's almost nowhere you can go where your screen won't be immediately covered in blood and guts. And figuring out your favorite ways to splatter zombies, which come in a variety of disgusting types, is what makes Dead Island 2 such a savage delight.
You still need me. I killed more zombies than you got shoes.
Number 21, The Punisher.
New York City never changes. No one catches you when you fall.
A game about the Punisher should be violent, but some believe that the Anti-Heroes 2005 outing went a bit overboard. It follows Frank Castle doing what he does best, laying waste to different criminals. But as he does, the level of violence reaches extreme heights, particularly during the scenes of torture. To avoid an adults-only rating in the US, the developers had to display several of those scenes in black and white. In the UK, the camera had to be reworked in multiple scenes to avoid showing violent content. In Australia, 2 scenes had to be removed so the game could be released. And in Germany, it was another game added to the list of media harmful to young people. Number 20, Phantasmagoria. Although Sierra Online was primarily known for family-friendly adventure games, Phantasmagoria stood out as a blood-soaked nightmare. It utilized the brief FMV fad of the time to follow an author who had recently moved into a demonic mansion. By exploring, players would experience twisted visions of the mansion's past while dealing with the demon tormenting them. Naturally, seeing such violent content with real actors, including an assault scene, drew a lot of controversy. Australia refused to rate it, while some American retailers refused to carry it. Still, it was a financial success, prompting Sierra to release a sequel in 1996, Phantasmagoria: A Puzzle of Flesh. Number 19, No More Heroes series.
Bring it on!
In this over-the-top anime-infused series, Travis Touchdown uses a beam katana to slice through foes, resulting in comical geysers of deep red. Throwing a monkey wrench into the Wii's family-friendly image, the original No More Heroes tasked players with murdering their way to the top of the world's greatest assassins. When not removing limbs from goons, you'd be confronted with consistently more insane boss fights. Its sequels have only managed to increase the levels of violent absurdity. No More Heroes 2 gave Travis an even greater number of assassins to work through, while the third entry put him up against actual superpowered aliens. No matter the enemy though, their demise was always brutal. Number 18. Splatterhouse series. Released during the boom of the arcade beat-em-up, Splatterhouse stood out among the rest thanks to its gruesome content. In it, players fused with an ancient sacrificial mass to go on a murder rampage against hordes of disturbing monsters using whatever weapon was at their disposal. It received 2 equally violent and unsettling sequels where you could continue raging against some seriously gross creatures. However, the blood really got to shine after games went HD. 2010's reboot received mixed reviews, but the violent content was in full force. In addition to classic weapons, players could now rip enemies apart with their bare hands or even perform varied splatter kills. Number 17. Killing Floor 2. Tripwire's Killing Floor 2 is like if you took Call of Duty's Zombies mode and dialed the gore factor up to 11. You can join up to 5 other players to face progressively tougher waves of horrifically mutated creatures called Zeds. With a variety of classes and weapons to choose from, there's a lot of fun in testing which ways you want to execute hordes. While foes naturally trickle in at first, your screen will soon be filled by waves of crimson as disgusting squelches and groans ring in your ears. However, with plenty of special classes among the enemies and some pretty gnarly bosses, you'll have your slaying work cut out for you. Number 16. Ninja Gaiden series. The original Ninja Gaiden games were brutally tough, though not actually brutal. But when Team Ninja revitalized the series in 2004, it came with the savagery to match the challenge. As long as players could stay alive, Ryu could dispatch foes with his razor-quick sword slices, turning them into blood fountains in the process. Its level of violence, particularly its inclusion of beheadings, caused it and its re-released Ninja Gaiden Sigma to be censored in certain locations. Still, the sequel featured a machine that weakened enemies by removing their limbs, and the third included slow-mo kills so you can bask in all the nasty detail. Hey, no one said the way of the ninja was peaceful. Number 15. The Last of Us series.
Hey, Tom, Ellie.
Renowned for its storytelling and performances, The Last of Us is one of the most lauded franchises in gaming history. It's also one of the most vicious. It's set 20 years after the fall of humanity when a deadly fungus infected most and turned them into flesh-eating monsters. The infected enemies mutate based off of time and environment, leading to seriously sickening and frightening enemy designs. As savage as they are, the series shows that humans have also grown exceptionally brutal during the apocalypse. Both games confront the player with disturbing acts committed by those trying to survive, protect the ones they love, or, in the most gut-wrenching moments, seek vengeance.
Where's the operating room? I ain't got time for this. Where?
Number 14. Gears of War series. The original Gears of War became a wonderful Xbox exclusive thanks to satisfying cover-based combat and buckets upon buckets of blood, only natural for a game that lets you tear into enemies with a chainsaw bayonet. Since then, the series has only improved in ways that you can dismantle opponents and just how gory it looks. The series chronicles humanity's fight against the subterranean Locust Horde, which has committed some pretty nasty acts throughout the series. While the story can get pretty dark, gameplay is ferociously fun as you use all kinds of weaponry to turn your enemies into mush. Moreover, most of the games include co-op, so you and a friend can have a bloody good time. Number 13. Wolfenstein series. When id Software revamped the classic PC action-adventure series, it injected Wolfenstein with groundbreaking gameplay and thrilling violence. 1992's Wolfenstein 3D marked the dawn of the FPS, and had players littering Nazis with bullets. It was quite the bloodbath for the time. However, future entries wouldn't stand out from other shooters, at least in terms of violence. That is, until Machine Games took over. The New Order introduced new levels of ultraviolence with its alternate history. Protagonist BJ Blazkowicz, and pretty much everyone else for that matter, showed no mercy in the manner they treated their enemies. Sequels have further explored the depravity of its characters, and we eagerly await what the future holds. Number 12. the Darkness series. In this underrated duology, players quad-wield guns and monstrous tendrils gained from an ancient demon known as the Darkness. Based on the comic of the same name, it follows Jackie, who learns the Darkness has been with his family for generations. With your Don uncle trying to kill you, you can shoot and rip your way through numerous goons in delightfully grisly fashion. There's a nice amount of variety to how your demon can attack, from creating a black hole to summoning imp-like minions. Not only that, but the Darkness also eats your victims' hearts to gain health as well as improve abilities and, in the case of the sequel, stats. Number 11. Resident Evil series. Since the first game's release in 1996, Resident Evil has grown into a franchise known for freakish enemy designs, terrifying thrills, and a whole lot of blood, guts, and gore. While going back to older installments might not be that impressive, modern entries are case studies in how to make your stomach churn. Both 7 and Village overflowed with bloody sequences not meant for the squeamish. Moreover, Capcom has done extremely well with giving those older entries a new coat of red paint and bringing them into the modern era. Despite some dips in quality, the series has never shown any signs of slowing down, and we've probably got plenty of violent years to come. Number 10. Harvester.
My losses to the dead are substantial. Hopefully the bake sale will offset some of them.
Like Phantasmagoria, DigiFX Interactive's Harvester brought realistic violence to the player through FMV. And while it wasn't as financially successful, it definitely had enough blood. In the game, players controlled the amnesiac Steve and explored the twisted town of Harvest. While piecing together the mystery, you'll perform tasks for the townspeople that seem normal at first, but become increasingly more violent as time progresses. It isn't long before the game descends into cult territory, cannibalism, and other barbarous atrocities. The game was outright banned in Germany. When a known psychologist and author compiled a list of the most violent games around Harvester's release, producer Lee Jacobson argued for its inclusion. At least he knew what his product was. Number 9. Mad World.
That's a pretty inside golf term. You play a lot? Never. That's the voice outstanding.
If No More Heroes besmirched the Wii's family-friendly image, then Mad World was like a sin on holy ground. Immediately bringing to mind Frank Miller's Sin City, the entire game is stylized in black and white, except whenever you kill an enemy, of which there are plenty. Set in a city that's been turned into a blood-soaked reality TV series, players must rampage through groups of goons and ridiculous bosses to make it out alive. Whether you're using Jack's chainsaw arm or the countless pieces of environment designed specifically for killing, comical amounts of blood gush from every single encounter. Some kills even come with motion controls, adding a small touch of interactivity to the mayhem. Number 8. Dead Space series.
There's something in here with us.
Horror games don't have to be violent, but in the case of some, it certainly helps. The original Dead Space took the horror gaming community by storm in 2008. Set inside a once nicely populated mining ship, players navigate dimly lit corridors where the vicious necromorphs lurk. All of them are the stuff of nightmares, and most of them can only be defeated by removing their limbs. That means a whole lot of slicing, blasting, and blowing off chunks of them, which of course results in piles of gore. Sequels found creative ways of showcasing newfound horrors like Dead Space 2's infamous eye surgery scene. And returning to the original was made all the more graphic by the 2023 remake. Number 7. The Evil Within series. Coming from the mind responsible for Resident Evil, it seems Shinji Mikami wanted to top his work with Capcom in how nauseatingly violent he could make The Evil Within. The first game puts players in the unfortunate shoes of a detective transported to a world of horrors. When not running from frightening creatures and murderous psychopaths, you'll have to avoid deadly traps just waiting to remove all the blood from your body. The Evil Within 2 naturally enhanced its level of violence as players were forced back into this twisted hellscape. Of course, with its tendency to coat any given area in a deep red, it's had to undergo censorship to release in some places, like Japan. Number 6. Manhunt series. It seems Rockstar Games has to deal with controversy every time it releases a game. While Grand Theft Auto is usually the one in the news due to violent content, it's got nothing on Manhunt. In the first game, you controlled a death row inmate forced to kill to survive in a series of snuff films. With an emphasis on stealth, you could perform different levels of savage executions. The sequel had you play as an escaped mental patient with improvements in graphics and gameplay making things all the more ferocious. Both entries drew significant backlash. Manhunt 2 was even refused classification in certain areas and rated as adults only in the US until Rockstar significantly censored it.
Who's next? Come on! Bring it! Bring it!
Number 5. Chiller. Although its graphics are incredibly simplistic by today's standards, the levels of violence in Chiller are unmatched by most games. Released in arcades in 1986, this light gun game had you play as a torturer with the majority of your targets being human. The first levels are actually set in torture chambers. Although shooting the NPCs gains points, using your gun to activate each device results in quicker deaths and therefore a higher score. The game wasn't a big seller. Turns out most arcade owners had the foresight not to purchase something that would likely piss off their customers. However, a port made its way onto the NES in 1990, though it was unsurprisingly not officially licensed by Nintendo. Number 4. God of War series. When God of War debuted in 2005, players were stunned at just how brutal Kratos could be. Humans, deities, and creatures alike met their messy ends with his blades of chaos and other mythical weaponry. While the focus on Greek myth made for a unique story, it was the bloodthirsty beatdowns Kratos offered that really drew players in. The series peaked, at least in terms of violent content, with God of War 3. From ripping off Helios' head with his bare hands to crushing an innocent love slave of Poseidon with a massive crank, Kratos has never been more merciless. Sure, he's slowed down in his old age, but he still won't hesitate to expertly demolish any foe he has to.
Come on!
Number 3. Doom series. After releasing Wolfenstein 3D, id Software took another monumental step forward with the FPS in 1993's Doom. The simple premise placed players as the last line of defense against demons from hell, utilizing all manner of firepower to blast them to pieces. It was a major hit, receiving expansions and sequels throughout the 90s. We love a little retro gore, but the series didn't reach peak brutality until the 2016 reboot opened up the floodgates. As the Slayer, players could rip, tear, shred, blast, and ignite demons to their heart's content as disgusting sound design and awesome heavy metal blared alongside them. It reminded everyone how vitally violent Doom is, making room for additional bloodbaths in 2020's Eternal and 2025's The Dark Ages.
The cleansing of necessary step on a path to tomorrow.
Number 2. Postal series. If an entire series is named after a term that refers to mass violence, you can bet it's pretty unsettling. The original Postal put players in the shoes of a nameless protagonist who believed he was fighting against people infected by a toxin to make them more aggressive. In actuality, he snapped and went on a murder spree. Sequels have brought different mechanics, perspectives, and their own varieties of controversies. While the extent of violence in some entries is optional depending on the player, some of the acts possible to perform are more than enough to warrant the franchise's inclusion. Postal has been criticized for being needlessly violent multiple times over the years. Yet, despite that and diminishing reviews, it's still kicking.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Mortal Kombat series. Honestly, there's no series more deserving of the crown. When Mortal Kombat released in arcades, it sent a wave of change throughout gaming. Players couldn't get enough of the gory moves, while parents were stunned by the graphic violence. It eventually led to the founding of the ESRB and has shown almost no signs of growing any family-friendlier. Immense amounts of gore are built into its DNA, and the franchise still upholds that legacy all these years later. Some entries bring new mechanics, such as special X-ray attacks that show just how painful fighting in this competition must be. While the controls are great, it's the fantastical carnage that has made Mortal Kombat a decade-spanning hit. Did we leave off a violent game or series that made you feel queasy? Be sure to let us know which ones traumatized you in the comments.